Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Nisimade, Jaya Nisimade, Jaya Narasimade, Jaya Narasimade. Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Shri Shri Prahlad Lakshmi Nrsimhadev Bhagavan ki. People. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we are reading from Bhagavad-Gita, 10th canto, 34th verse. Still not working.
Don't worry, it will work in a second.
Okay. So maybe can offer prayers just so we're waiting. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmat Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaiva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you for coming this evening lecture. I would like to ask you for your blessing so that I can say something meaningful to you that can help you progress deeper and forward in your spiritual life, and for my own purification so that my heart can become more humble and purified with this transcendental service. Okay, so it's 34th, 10th chapter, 34th verse. I'm going to start with the Sanskrit. Mrityu sarvaharashchaham udavascha bhavishatam kirti shriva chanarinam Smritirmeda dritiksama Mrityu sarvaharashchaham Udbhavascha bhavishatam Kirti Shrivakchanarinam Smritirmedha dritiksama Mrityu sarvaharashchaham Udbhavascha bhavishatam Kirti Shrivakchanarinam Smritirmedha dritikshama Mrityu sarvaharashchaham Udbhavascha bhavishatam Kirti Shrivakchanarinam Smritirmedha dritikshama Anyone would like? Mrityu sarvaharashchaham Udbhavascha bhavishatam Kirti Shrivakchanarinam Smritirmedha dritikshama. Okay, word for word. Mrityu, death. Sarvahara, all devouring. Cha, also. Aham, I am. Udbhava, generation. Cha, also. Bhavishatam, of future manifestations. Kirti, fame. Shri, opulence or beauty. Vak, fine speech. Cha, also. Narinam, of woman. Smriti, memory. Medha, intelligence. Dhriti, firmness. Ksama, patience. Translation. I am all devouring death, and I am the generating principle of all that is yet to be. Among women, I am fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and patience. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. As soon as a man is born, he dies at every moment. Thus, death is devouring every living entity at every moment. But the last stroke is called death itself. That death is Krishna. As for future development, all living entities undergo 6 basic changes. They are born, they grow, they remain for some time, they reproduce, they dwindle, and finally they vanish. Of these changes, the first is deliverance from the womb, and that is Krishna. The first generation is the beginning of all future activities. The 7 opulences listed, fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and patience, are considered feminine. If a person possesses all of them or some of them, he becomes glorious. If a man is famous as a righteous man, that makes him glorious. Sanskrit is a perfect language and is therefore very glorious. If after studying one can remember a subject matter, he is gifted with a good memory or smriti, and the ability not only to read many books on different subject matters, but to understand them and apply them when necessary is intelligence, medha, another opulence. The ability to overcome unsteadiness is called firmness or steadfastness, dhriti. And when one is fully qualified, yet is humble and gentle, And when one is able to keep his balance, both in sorrow and in ecstasy of joy, he has the opulence called patience, kshama. Kshama. Okay, so I will just say a few words on this beautiful verse and purport by Srila Prabhupada. I feel very grateful to be here reading with you this beautiful verse. And the first thing when I was preparing for this class was just how much, especially thinking about these beautiful qualities that are mentioned here in this purport, how much I am lacking all of them. And I was just really praying to Krishna to be like, what is it that I am supposed to, what is the essence from this verse? Because it's really, we hear many times all the qualities that devotees should abide in themselves, and every time I meditate on these qualities and developing these beautiful qualities, immediately comes to mind what Prabhupada actually emphasizes in all his purport, that we are not this body. We are not who we think we are. So I always feel like before I can actually develop any good quality, or I can actually develop and go deeper in my spiritual life, it's always so important to make a step back and actually understand how much am I able to understand that I'm not this body, and in this way just be used as an instrument of whatever the will of Krishna is in that particular moment. So I was meditating about it the other day, and as soon as oh yeah. Okay. So is it better? Hare Krishna? Yeah. Okay. So just gonna share a few things. I think we won't make it so long anyway, right? Till 7. Quarter to. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So I would just, as a starting, I wanted to speak a little bit about my experience of trying to meditate on, generally on every service that has been given to me, that I notice that the mind immediately tries to find different ways of how I can deal with a certain service, how much I am able to do, how much I'm not able to do a particular service. And I was meditating on the gift that Srila Prabhupada has given us to in whatever we do, to try to love Krishna, to try to surrender, to put our heart, and in this way, by with every step, allowing the mind to surrender to whatever is been given to us, without judging too much the situation, or trying too much with our own imperfect senses to understand. And in this verse, I liked so much the first word, mrityu, that speaks about death. And we have Narasimhadev here that in our the Bija mantra that we sing especially on Saturday, Mrityum Mrityum Namamyaham. Krishna is the death of death personified. So it's very glorious, very glorious that we are able to be here in the presence of Narasimhadev, that death is actually one of the most painful and disturbing situation that a jiva can go through, because with the process of that is the process of letting everything go, letting the people that are most close go, letting the the attachments that even to the devotees, even for devotees, actually that is can be difficult, Tulsi Maharani, because at some point we become attached to the service actually that we are performing in this life. And just recently I have personally, but I think all of us have heard of some very elevated devotees that are in difficult situations and may we don't know when the all these Prabhupada disciples, all these people will leave this world. So it's a very important meditation, especially for us, to meditate on the attachment, on actually understanding that we need attachments in this world, and to attach ourselves to what is most important, to the devotees, to the service that we have. Because anyway, in the moment of that, or in the moment when we have to let go, it's always going to be painful. But if it's connected to Krishna, if even these very painful moments we are able to connect them with to Krishna, then it can be a very very purifying and very powerful experience. And so in the purport we also have the 6 changes that the body undergoes. And as much as we try to learn that we are not this body, and we try to transcend our consciousness in our activity, still it's very important to understand actually how the body works and all the attachments and the activities. So here are stated the 6 changes. Anyone would like to repeat them, remember them? Yes? Then it's growing. Then they remain for some time. And then that's the last. Then they reproduce. And then they age, they become old, and then they die. Then they dwindle, they vanish. So I like also the word vanish, right? Because here it's all the elements, everything in this world ultimately vanishes, because the element, ultimately they go back to the prakriti, to the elements itself, to the essence. So, and Krishna's, and Prabhupada in the purpose says, and in the beginning of everything is Krishna. So we don't have here in Simachalam Govinda Madhipurusha in the morning program, but we do have the Brahma Samhita that we can read anytime, and it's so beautiful, the prayers of Brahma Samhita, where it's constantly reminded in all the wonderful and unconceivable activities that Krishna performs. Govinda Madhipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. I am the supreme source of everything. Everything emanates from him. And and then I had one verse I wanted to. Also regarding that, there was a nice verse where for us devotees we see Krishna coming. So the moment of death and the moment of annihilation, and also the moment of birth for a devotee, you constantly see Krishna. So there is no discontinue of devotional service. But for the atheists, or the people that they haven't developed such a strong faith in Krishna, in the holy name, and they still doubt, they have this root of doubting that actually there is something higher. In this case, Krishna comes as that personified. And there is a beautiful verse, Yam Yam Vapi Smaran Bhavam Tyajati Ante Kalevaram Tam Tam Evaiti Kaunteya Sada Tat Bhava Bhavita. I don't know if anyone of you know this verse. It's really... so I feel like this was the second verse in my Krishna consciousness that shocked me a little bit. Like the first time when I was like around 15 years old, that I heard about karma, like action and reaction. And the first time I was introduced in Krishna consciousness, that was really like a shock to understand. Actually, in every action, I actually get a reaction. Like, so it means like that if I'm not really kind to that person is gonna be very mean to me. Or if I am just take, like if somebody gives me a gift or is giving me something, and if I don't reciprocate, I will have like a bank account that I have to give back in a way or the other. So for me, that was the first time I was shocked of how conditioned we are, because one can also feel when one is like being super nice to you, then there is some energy that the person at the same time wants something back, and it's like the law of nature. It's not just it is conditionment of the ego, but it's also in the law of nature and the law of karma. And then when I heard this verse, whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. And that was also, whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. And this also, like we can practice Krishna consciousness, we can be, space out many times, just be busy, but then it's like, at the end of the day, what am I really remembering? Am I remembering Krishna? And I remember for some time I was very conscious about it. When I was performing service, especially in the temple, I was very conscious, like, if I'm not remembering Krishna right now, I have no chance in other times of my day when I'm actually not doing service directly, that I will actually remember Krishna. So I remember that also gave me like some inspiration in a way to be a little bit more aware of actually what's going on during the practice. And then while I was doing also Bhakti Shastri in Mayapur, they would always, as a side of our study time, they would always say, by the end of the day, try to remember what were your thoughts during the day. Be aware what were your thoughts, because ultimately that's really important. That's very important that that this is how we make advancement, when we actually can become aware of what am I actually thinking in this moment, what's going on in my mind while I'm actually either cleaning the temple or just the slightest thing, talking to a devotee. I'm actually like really there and really present, because the time of death it will bring about all the strongest samskara, all the strongest moments where we were actually present. So it's very important. It's very important that we create samskara, that we create memories, especially when we are having a good time in Krishna consciousness, to actually remember, like really be present in that moment and just really absorb as much as you can, because that experience, you, by Krishna's mercy, it will hopefully come to your mind when you most need it. And this is also one of the qualities. It was memory, smriti. Memory is very important quality that one can learn as much as one likes, can read books, can even study so many things. But actually, even Prabhupada said in the purport, if at the moment that we actually need the knowledge actually is not there because it's not realized, then what is the use of reading so much and engaging ourselves in so many studies? But when a person is actually blessed by smriti, by memory, then one can remember. One can remember because it goes deeper than just the mind level. And I remember it reminded me of this story of Karna, that he wanted to learn the art of fighting, and then because he was not, I think you know the story. Karna was in the same family of the Pandavas, but he was another son of Mother Kunti, and he wanted to learn the art of fighting, and he didn't. And he went to Parashuram, and Parashuram he was the greatest kshatriya, but he said, "I'm not going to teach any kshatriya." And Karna was telling him, "I am not a kshatriya. I am just here as a brahmana or as a shudra." He approached him, a shudra, and then Parashuram taught all the knowledge, all the ability of fighting, and all the deepest secrets. And he was as good as Arjuna, so he became a very powerful warrior. But then the moment that Parashuram understood, because he could see his austerities, he could see that in a moment he was, I don't remember, it was an insect, a particular insect that was stinging his leg. And he was tolerating for the entire night. He was tolerating the pain, and blood was coming out, and he was in so much pain, but he was able to control. And then Parashuram understood, this person is a kshatriya, is not a shudra. Then he cursed him, and he said, in the moment that you will need this knowledge, you will forget it. And I remember also when I heard the story the first time, I was like, this is probably like the worst curse one can receive, because that means that everything you studied, then in the moment actually that you need the most, it's not gonna be there. So it's a very very special mercy of the Lord when we can actually remember and not give for granted that what we actually receiving is the mercy of Krishna. Is the mercy of Krishna that is helping us, is allowing us to go deeper and to share this knowledge, or to ultimately become more humble in our practices. And the ability to and then Srila Prabhupada, I put it here, it was very nice. One second. And then, sorry, here. There was a verse. So that just speaking a little of the last quality that I felt is probably the most important in my humble experience, is that Prabhupada was writing on this purport about sincerity in 2.13 Bhagavad-Gita. He was writing, "Let me become Krishna's devotee sincerely." And this is a very important prayer that we should have when we pray, to actually develop sincerity, because duplicity is actually the quality that is least appreciated by Krishna. So he was encouraging, please let me become Krishna's devotee sincerely. And then this will bring about enthusiasm. Utsahan nischaya dhairya tat karma pravartnana sangha tyag sato vritte shadbir bhakti prasidyati. This verse from Upadeshamrita that speaks about that one can execute his service with enthusiasm, perseverance, determination, by following prescribed duties in association of devotees and engaging completely in activities of goodness. So by developing this quality of sincerely praying to Krishna, actually one develop utsahan, one develop enthusiasm. And then Prabhupada makes the point, I am Krishna's devotee now, I'm trying to be Krishna's devotee, but I'm not experiencing happiness. And why is that so? He actually wrote the whole question, I'm Krishna's devotee, but I'm not happy. Why is that so? And then he writes as an answer, so you have to become patient. So this is the moment when there is no happiness, to develop, to actually go deeper into the opportunity to become patient and understand that everything comes at its own timings. There is not even a blade of grass that moves without the sanction of Krishna's will. So these qualities, they just reminded me very much of the importance of developing character. My teacher and guru always reminds me, always emphasize in his lecture to emphasize character rather than service, in a sense, because sometimes we become so focused on making our service happen in a particular way and making sure that it's done in a certain time and it's done in a certain quality. But then sometimes we can, because of the service, jump over our own character and sometimes be like, we can become distracted with the environment, with the devotees that actually are the source of our well wishes, are the source of our spiritual advancement. Sadhu Sangha is very, very important. There are even moments where Srila Prabhupada says, like, if a guest comes into the temple and one is offering worship in the altar, one should jump off the service and just attend the need of that person, that guest or that devotee. So to emphasize our character, our ability to serve with integrity rather than just getting things done and just, coming, ticking off like, okay, I did my service and I was not aware at all of actually what was the need around me. So this is also a quality of patience, because when we have a particular service, it's not just about fulfilling that service, but it has so much around. And sometimes when we live in a small community, everything can become like very small. Like everything is just about this service and to fix that thing and fix that person, and always making sure that fixing, like always it's still good to be in a serving mood, but then it's at the same time, it's very much important to keep our integrity, our character, to be develop that tolerance when there are uncomfortable or disturbing situations, to become aware that I am just an instrument. I'm just an instrument, and it happens sometime. Also that, one, for example, is, is maybe speaking about something, is trying to make a point, and then another person is like maybe asking something else, or, and then is like, no, like I am making my point, to understand when we are actually serving or we are actually trying to get our own wishes fulfilled in that service. So I was reflecting a lot on this, because this is part of duplicity, and duplicity is really a quality that will not allow us to remain open for mercy to come and transform our life. Because it's like we say, I am serving you, Krishna, I am surrendering to you, but if things don't go my way, then I'm not sure how much I will keep surrendering. So there is like a but, I am giving this lecture, but if people reply in a certain way, or if I don't feel, then I am, then I don't, I don't, I will not do it anymore, like being attached to the outcome. And it's, in the Bhagavad-Gita is actually one of the first steps to become detached from from the result of our activities. Is one of the most basic, basic and grounding principles in order to actually go deeper in our spiritual life. And yeah, I think we are here. Then I did right. I wanted to conclude with a little letter that I found from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur that I felt it was very, very, very inspiring. But I want to hear first if you have any question or comments about it. So please. Yes. Mm. Would you like to repeat it?
Krishna is the best spiritual meditation, and death is the best material meditation.
It's very, very true. Yes, it's very, very true. And it's actually important to sometimes have that fear, like, to feel a little bit of, I don't know if it's, but it is connected to fear, like to be like, okay, let's not sit too comfortably. Padam. Yes, yes, and say padam padam yavi padam natesham. Every step is danger. Every step is like a fire, can just turn on for no reason at all, and burn everything down. I was just speaking when I was in London with a lady that she just, like a volunteer, she just came to the temple, and she was like, we had so much money, my father had so much money, and then the day after the government changed it in I think it was in Mexico, and then all the property that they used to have, it was taken by the government. They were like poor, like one day they were rich, the day after they were poor, literally. And it's like, it really, like, especially for materialistic people, this is like the worst that can happen when you actually lose everything material. It's like even worse than dying sometime when you don't have like food and these basic needs. But yeah, it's really important. It's really important to still be aware that even if we are devotees, it's not, we are protected spiritually, but materially we are still very much in the material world. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Vasha. Mm. Yes. Yes. Mother Kishori Kun, she just said that everything that will help us in our devotional service, it will be given to us, but everything that will not help us, it will be taken away. In this way, Krishna appears in our life. It's very true. Yeah. Aha, okay. Mm. Mm. Yeah, it's true. Krishna. Okay, so she said Krishna is not. He knows best. He knows best what we need, and he doesn't prohibit us from what we want, but is actually helping us. But we don't always understand this. We can see maybe later. We can see that actually that was the best for us, and yeah, it's a very good point. Yes, yes, yeah. Yeah, Krishna has the allow us to have used our free will, so he's not pushing us to go in a certain direction. Even to love him, he knows this is the best for us, but he still allows us to be like, okay, take your time. I am time anyway. I am everything anyway. Yeah. Okay. I think it's good. I think we arrived to a certain time. Should I, maybe I read another time? Yeah, it's a bit late. It's a little long. Yeah, yeah. I thought, but it's it was just really nice. It was the I just read this little statement. It was just very nice. It was like the last message he wrote before he left this world. So it was a little bit in the. So he made a wish. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Yeah, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. I wish that every selfless, tender-hearted person of Gaudiya Math will be prepared to shed 200 gallons of blood for the nourishment of the spiritual corpus of every individual of this world. He wrote a beautiful letter, so I recommend you to research. I wish that every selfless, tender-hearted person will be prepared to shed 200 gallons of blood for the nourishment of the spiritual corpus of every individual of this world, of every person. It's a very beautiful letter that it's really encouraging to actually endeavor in actually nourishing relationship and nourishing people in our preaching that are new. So I hope you can give it a read. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.